my name is Zaak Kerstetter, and welcome to another KMG video series where every week we take a look at a really cool feature or plugin or fun thing you can do with Ableton Live. And this week I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about LFOs. So if you're not familiar what an LFO is, an LFO stands for low frequency oscillator, and effectively it allows you to pick a parameter and make it move up and down over time. And so there's a number of different devices inside of Live that already come with LFOs built into them. So for example, here in Operator, we have an LFO that we can apply to various parameters within Operator. Or if we take a look at another audio effect, like say the auto filter has a built-in LFO, which allows you to move your filter frequency up and down. However, there's lots of situations where you can't apply a built-in LFO. For example, if we take a look at the EQ8 here, there's no LFO built into it, so if I want to make this filter frequency move up and down, I've got to automate that manually, which sometimes that's what you want to be doing, but sometimes you just want to let the computer do the work for you. So in order to do that, we're going to take a look at a couple different Max for Live devices that are already free with the Suite version of Live. So if you own Live Suite, you already have access to these, and you can go ahead and find them in your Live packs under the core library, under audio effects, under devices, and then audio effects. And there's going to be a Max for Live folder here where we have both the LFO and the Shaper. You can also find these directly in your Max for Live folder underneath audio effects. So we're going to first take a look at the LFO. This is an audio effect, but it doesn't actually affect your sound whatsoever. So when I play a note, it sounds the same whether this is turned on or off. So it doesn't actually affect your sound. But what it does do is it does allow you to attach this LFO to any parameter you want on any device you want, including third-party plugins or racks or literally anything. So here we can see you have the sine wave going up and down, and this is moving at the rate that I set here, so I can speed it up and slow it down, and the shape that I set here. So we'll come back to that in a second. So if I want this to actually affect, say again, my filter frequency here, I'm using the EQ8 because it's really obvious to see what's happening as well as hear what's happening. But you can put this anywhere you want. So I'm gonna hit the map button. While it's blinking, I'm gonna go over to my filter frequency, I'm gonna click on it, and it's now gonna move it up and down. So now when I play a note, that filter frequency is gonna move up and down. And once again, I can change the rate, speed up and slow it down. Right now this is set in hertz, so I can sync this to the grid. So now it's moving up and down at the rate of 1 bar. Or quarter notes or whatever you want. I can also change the amount, so the depth here will increase or decrease the amount. So I can make it a little more subtle or really obvious. I can also change the shape here. So right now it's just going up and down in a sine wave, but if I say do the up version, this is going to move it in an upwards saw wave or a downward saw wave, whatever you want. If I turn up the smooth control, it's going to, instead of having these straight lines, it's going to kind of curve the edges. See the shape there. And there's also this jitter control, which is going to add a little bit of randomness to your shape. So it's still going to move up and down in this saw wave, but you can see it adds that little bit of randomness to it as well. So these are all pretty common controls you're going to see on just about every LFO ever. Nothing too exciting here. This is just really awesome because I can put this anywhere I want. In addition, I can also adjust the resolution or the range of my LFO. Right now it's going from 0% to 100%, which means this filter is moving all the way down to 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. But if I want this to move, say, within a different range, I can adjust the range here as a percentage. So now it's only moving through these higher frequencies. Or I can dial this in wherever I want. So you can kind of customize it. You'll also notice that when you have a parameter mapped, I can't control it anymore. This is grayed out. I can't do anything to it. It will only be controlled by the LFO. If I would like to unmap this, I can hit this X button here, and now it's no longer mapped, and I'm free to control this as I see fit. If I wanted to control, say, multiple parameters simultaneously, I can hit this button over here in the top right corner, and we have a list of multiple different options for us to map. So say I want to map this also to my oscillator D on operator. Now they're both moving up and down at the same rate and the same shape, however I want. And because the LFO device is an audio effect, that means I can have multiple LFOs on a single track. So I could take a different one, and this one could have a entirely different rate, an entirely different shape, and I could start applying this to different parameters. So I could map this to, say, my resonance. Now you can see my filter frequency is moving up and down based off of this shape, and my resonance is bouncing up and down based off of this shape. So that's pretty cool. In addition, let me turn the resonance back down here. I can map one LFO to another LFO. So I could have this LFO control the rate of this LFO. So if I hit the map button here, now you can see the range is way too high, so let's tone the range down. And let's set this to be synced. Let's go ahead and remap that, or unsynced. So now it's going to be speeding up and slowing down. And you can create cool, weird rhythms with it if you want. So you can map LFOs to other LFOs, and your modulators can modulate other things. It really is a rabbit hole where you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. And this is really important for a lot of different styles of music production, because people don't want to hear just the same sounds over and over again. They want the sounds to grow and shift and evolve and change over time. So LFOs are a great way to do that. However, if you are already an experienced LFO user and if you've been doing stuff like this for a long time, there's another step we can try out. And that's going to be using the Shaper Max for Live device. So this is another free Max for Live device that if you own Suite, you already have. And it's basically the same thing. You'll see the interface will look very familiar. We have a map button here. We have the shape here. We have the rate. We can sync it. We can unsync it. We can smooth it. All that stuff is basically the same. The key difference here with Shaper is we can customize our shape. So let's go ahead and try this out back on our filter frequency. Like that. So here we have this kind of curved saw wave. I can flip to be a saw wave going up, or I can change the speed of it here. You get this kind of like a heartbeat kind of shape. So it has some cool built-in shapes. However, you can also customize it. And this is where it gets really cool. So if you're used to using LFOs out of plugins like Serum or LFO Tool, this is going to feel very familiar. So if I want to, I can just click and it adds a new breakpoint. And I can customize and I can move these breakpoints around to change my LFO. And I can even do this while it's playing. You can see here's our new shape, which is really, really handy. So if you don't just want a sine wave or a square wave or something like that, you can really customize your LFOs here, which is really awesome. Right now you'll notice that if I move my breakpoints, it's kind of set to this grid here. We can change our grid number here. So if I want to have more options and customize this even more, I have that option. I can also hit this snap button and that will turn the grid off, so I don't necessarily have to quantize it. I can move it around wherever I want. If you'd like to delete a breakpoint, you can just hold down Shift and then click on it, and that will delete these breakpoints. You can also adjust the curve of your breakpoints by mousing over it and holding down the Option key, and you can click and drag up or down to create a totally different shape. And that's basically it. And if you want to erase it, you can hit this X button and you can start plugging in your own LFO shapes on the fly and making entirely different sounds with it. And once again, we can also have up to 8 different parameters all assigned to this Shaper device. And because it's an audio effect, you can also have as many shapers as you want. So you can just keep on adding more of them. And again, there's really a lot of rabbit holes you can go down here. And in this situation, for this example, I was using the EQ8 filter frequency because it's pretty obvious to really see it and hear it. However, you can apply this to anything you want. You could apply this to dry wet controls on effects. You could affect say, delay times on a delay. All kinds of weird, interesting motion and movement can be applied to your sounds just by taking whatever you already have and start to apply LFOs to different parameters on either the effects or the MIDI effects or the instruments. It's entirely up to you. So hopefully you enjoyed watching that. Hopefully that's useful. Definitely recommend checking out LFO, the LFO device. If you haven't been using it already, it is a lifesaver. It is by far, hands down, my favorite Max for Live device of all time. It's want to use the most, it just is amazing. And if you are feeling pretty comfortable with how the LFO device works and you're looking for a little bit something extra, try using the Shaper. I think it's a really cool tool that a lot of people just don't know exists, and you could buy third-party plugins that will do something similar, but if you don't own those and you want to save some money, this is a great way to get started and customize your LFOs and get a lot of control out of your LFOs and your modulators. So thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for more videos coming real soon. We're doing them every single week, and hopefully I'll see you soon.